and he's in the middle of talking to French TV right now. I might just sidle in there and see if I can wiggle in and get an interview with him. But apparently he's reasonably under control, but Jean can be quite hot-headed, but he has won a Grand Prix before. He knows what it's all about here in Barcelona, a lot of Grand Prix experience. I think he's only 3 or 4 away from doing more Grand Prix even than I did. But Jean Elacy, Jean, how are you doing?
Very well.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be in this position, obviously.
So it's your best performance on the grid for a while. Why is that? Why is it going so much better?
It's the best performance of the season because last year we were in the first row in Austria, but obviously we work very well all together, and the car here is very easy to make a mistake or to make a good direction is what we did, I think.
What's your race strategy? What are you going to do? How many times are you going to stop?
The stop, I don't want to say, but the fight, I hope to be able to fight as long as possible.
Okay, well, we wish you good luck and have a great afternoon. Thanks, John. Another guy I want to talk to is Eddie Irvine. I saw him wander off the grid a little while ago. Let's see if we can find him now. And here's Michael Schumacher too. I don't know if I'm allowed to butt into this conversation. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready to have a chat. Michael's talking to Charlie Whiting here, who's the race director and the man who sets the random amount of time on the start line for the green light or the red lights go out. Michael. Okay, DSF have beat me to it. Okay, no, they haven't. I think we've just pulled a bit of a fast one here. Michael Schumacher, 4th on the grid, not where you wanted to be, but can you do anything about it?
We'll see. I think if we can pull out a star like Monaco, why not? But it is difficult because the first corner is a long way down the straight, and a lot of things can happen until then.
Your car looked a bit of a handful in qualifying, but were you on the soft tyres or the hard tyres? Everybody's can't make this out, can't work this out.
Black and round.
The black and round ones, okay, well, that's a good answer, but race strategy, similar to before, or are you going to try one of your Banzai specials today?
Yeah, Ross obviously is the master on that, and he will for sure have something in the pocket if necessary. So we will see. We've just found another good setup, so we feel reasonably confident. We will see what we can do with that.
Well, we all know you're fit enough and strong enough. Have a great race, and thanks for talking to us, Michael. Right, that was nice of him, wasn't it? Here's Irvine, quick. Let's have a quick chat with Swerving. Swerve, you got 20 seconds. What's, front row grid position, nobody to watch, hurtle into the first corner. What's your ideas?
Well, I said to Mika, if I'm going to take him off, I'll make sure he's off on the inside so that he's got an easier walk back to the pits.
Yeah, that's true. You need to get him before that, I guess, if you're going to do that. But, seriously, though, do you think you've got a chance to lead this race and win it from the front?
Well, a chance of leading it. Obviously, if Michael's in the race, we've got to play so that he can try and win the race. That's what it's all about, It's not ideal for me, but that's the story.
OK, your car seems to me to be working better than Michael's. Are you on the same tyres?
Yeah.
Absolutely the same tyres, so you got a good chance. We've got to go back to the studio. Good luck, Eddie. Thanks a lot. Back to the studio.
Moving well down there. Martin nipping in front of German host broadcasters DSF. Not the first time they've been outmanoeuvred in Barcelona this week. Let's have a word with David Coulthard, shall we? High hopes for David today. He's with Louise.
Yeah, David's qualified 3rd. That puts him on the outside of the track. David, how much is there a clean and a dirty side to this grid?
Well, every circuit, it's a small disadvantage to be on the inside because, of course, it's more dusty and there isn't as much rubber down. Sometimes you can still make good starts from there, but in many ways, this is the better side to be on, but ideally, of course, pole.
Temperature's been rising all day. Track temperature is up quite high now. How much is that going to play into the hands of the people who've chosen to go on the hard tyres?
Well, in theory, it should help a great deal. Because naturally, temperature of the tyre, the soft tyre, will put more heat into the carcass. So we're hoping we're on the right tyre.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Tony Jardine, quick up sum from you.
Well, it's a bit of a lottery in terms of strategy today, and that is because of the wind here that swirls around on the straight and the back straights, and because of the temperatures which are going to affect the tyres. I think Ferrari have got the reliability. They haven't perhaps just got quite the outright speed of the McLaren, but we're in for a great battle, and it's anybody's race.
Thank you, Tony. King Juan Carlos recovered from his spin with Martin. All credit to him, by the way, for going around in that two-seater McLaren. And, well, will these Reds do it again in Barcelona? Round 5 of the Formula One World Championship is just minutes away then. Stand by for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix.
Video sport shower gel wasn't only developed by people in white coats, but with people in white shorts.
Over 1,000 of us who know. Training takes a lot out of you.
I'm sweaty, muddy, dirty and tired.
Physio Sport Shower Gel with arginine sorts you out, leaving you with healthier feeling hair and skin.
So you look good and feel good. Good enough to go
training all over again.
New Physio Sport Clean, developed for you by 1,000 top athletes.
Where did you two guys meet? Mental.
Hey guys, home alone and lonely? Don't be, stay up with us. We're here all night long. Call now for a live one-to-one. Calls cost 60 pence per minute.
And welcome back to Barcelona's Catalunya circuit for the Spanish Grand Prix. Let's join Martin Brundle, fresh from piloting the King of Spain round the track and now working alongside our crown prince of Grand Prix commentators, Murray Walker.
Well, Jim, I'm waiting for the newly appointed Don Martino Brandella of Marbella to join me. He's on his way up from the grid now, and all credit to him and King Juan Carlos. King Juan for having the bravery to go round in the car, and Martin for resisting the pressure as well as he did. An enormous responsibility. Now, on to the race itself, which is going to be over 65 laps, and here is Martin joining us now. It's over 65 laps of this very demanding circuit, very abrasive surface, which is going to be very tough on tyres. Tyres and strategy are going to be all about this race, because as you've heard ad nauseam, but it's worth repeating, McLarens are on the hard compound tyres, and Ferrari, both of them, although Michael Schumacher wouldn't divulge it to Martin Brundle, are using the softer compound tyres. We could be seeing 2 and certainly maybe 3 pit stops from the Ferrari team this day. But the dramatic news is that just before the pit lane closed, both Michael Schumacher, who is starting from 4th on the grid, and Eddie Irvine, who's starting 2nd on the grid, came into the garages. They were wheeled in, and they had a last-minute adjustment made to the roll bar on the front of the car, which may be, Martin, what Michael was alluding to when he said they'd found something in the setup.
Yeah, but golden rule number 1 is never change anything between the warm-up and the race. And that, to me, suggests they're just not happy with the car after the warm-up. Because however hard you try going out of the pits to go to the grid, it's not like a full flying lap. And the car always feels slightly better than it is in reality. And as soon as you get underway in the race, suddenly those changes you made turn out, or can often turn out, to be the wrong move. But they've got a lot of data, a lot of feedback from the drivers, so I would expect them to have made relatively small changes, but we'll see if it works in their favour or not. But it does suggest to me they're not totally confident in their race setup. I'm not absolutely sure what Michael Schumacher's doing on the tyres. That's why I asked him and Eddie Irvine about the tyres. Eddie said, yep, they're both on the same tyres. Michael said to James Allen yesterday, there seems to be a lot of questions about my tyres. It's useful, seems to be some misinformation. That's just what we wanted. And he put a lot of top spin on that. And I think there may be a reason why he's behind Eddie Irvine on the grid in that respect. But we'll wait and see. At the moment, the information is they are on the softer tyres, and that those softer tyres can wear down quite quickly, almost to slicks. In other words, the grooves disappear, and then they start performing rather well.
In which case, they have to be very careful, because if they get right down to a semi-slick, they're in danger of flouting one of the rules. The depths can be tested, and if they are not deep enough, they are judged not to have 4. Well, that hasn't happened yet, and let's hope it doesn't happen today. But if it's going to happen anywhere, it'll happen here. And incidentally, Ferrari have been very open up to this race and saying this is their worst circuit of the year, Barcelona. And the McLarens were expected to do much better on the grid in comparison to Ferrari than they did. Yes, Mika Häkkinen has taken his 5th successive pole position, and there he is sitting in position 1 on the grid. But Eddie Irvine was just a mere 1/10 of a second slower than him. David Coulthard in 3rd position on the grid, 0.15 seconds slower, and Michael Schumacher 0.19. So there's only 2/10 of a second covering the top 4 on the grid. On the cleaner side of the track, Eddie Irvine is not. He's on the right, and behind him is Michael Schumacher. So on the cleaner side of the track are Mika Häkkinen pole position, David Coulthard behind him, Jean Alesi on the soft Bridgestones, high up on the grid in 5th position, a superb drive in qualifying yesterday, and Jacques Villeneuve in the new BAR, 6th on the grid. He had some trouble in the warm-up this morning, but managed to recover well, and the car looks as though it's in pretty good shape for today's race.
Well, the average speed here is about 125 miles an hour. That puts it pretty much mid-pack as they leave the line to start their formation lap. In terms of average speed, it's about middle of the pack of the World's Grand Prix circuit. But it turns out to be the most physical track of the year because there are 4 very, very fast right-hand corners that wrench your neck, and generally it's a pretty frantic racetrack, 4.7 kilometres. And it's going to be a physical afternoon because the first 4 runners, I think, there's not a lot between them in terms of pace.
It's a track with a very, very fast finishing straight, up to 200 miles an hour almost on the way to turn 1. It's got a bit of gradient in it, it's got slow corners, it's got some very demanding long sweepers. Turn 3, for instance, is a 180-degree corner, which they enter at about 105 miles an hour and exit on the approach to turn 4 at about 170 miles an hour. And then when you're coming down to La Caixa, which is turn 10, you're down to about 60 miles an hour. So there's a tremendous stress on the drivers. The track temperature at the present moment, incidentally, it's stabilised at about 36 degrees, which is nearly 10 degrees lower than it was yesterday. And that could well have an effect on strategy. The engineers will be looking at temperatures, will be studying tyre wear information as they thread their way round the 22 competitors, all 22 qualified well within the 107% of pole position time limitation yesterday. And that's Rubens Barrichello, as you see. He is 7th on the grid in the Stewart Ford. His teammate Johnny Herbert is down in 14th place, quite a way down below him. But I think, in a way, the thing that's going to matter most is whether Schumacher at the start can get ahead of Coulthard, even more importantly than whether Irvine can get ahead of Häkkinen.
Well, they've all been stopping at the end of the pit lane through free practice, just going over the speed limit line, stopping the car and doing practice getaways. And I have to say all 4 of them have looked pretty handy, and the secret is the minimum amount of wheel spin. But still, I thought the Ferrari looked marginally better with its traction, which even from stationary and even up to just 50, 100 kilometres an hour, 30, 40 miles an hour, the aerodynamics of the car start coming into play, and the Ferrari does seem to pull away rather well.
Well, both the McLaren drivers got it wrong at Monaco. They were both passed by their respective challengers in the Ferrari team. Let's wait and see. Mika Häkkinen in pole position. Behind him, Eddie Irvine, then David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, the 2 Ferraris in line astern, the 2 McLarens in line astern. 65 laps. Watch the lights as ever.
Coulthard is well forward in his box. I think he's just inside his start box. Over to you, Murray.
Lights out and go in Spain. Häkkinen gets away well. Irvine up behind him. David Coulthard is coming up. Jacques Villeneuve is trying to get round the outside of them, and David Coulthard is blocking off. Irvine is trying to go through, but Villeneuve is up into third position. Both the Ferraris have been passed. It's a bad start for both the Ferraris, a superb start for both the McLarens.
2 cars left on the grid here. I think it's the Prost of Trulli and a Minardi of Genet. So it's Panis and Genet. They should clear those cars. I think they're pushing them the wrong way. The gap in the pit wall is behind them. They're pushing them forward.
Hold it, Martin. There's Irvine trying to get through on the inside of Schumacher, trying to get through on the inside of Villeneuve. He fails to do so, and you'll see that Michael Schumacher is now ahead of Eddie Irvine, who started in front of him.
Right, we've got a stationary car on the start line with its engine running, the Minardi of Genet, and Marshall's on the track. I don't know what they're going to do. There's not there you see the car now. It's overheated. Just switch it off and go for that gap in the wall. Otherwise they're going to have to put the safety car out at least. And there the 2 McLarens up front. Villeneuve in a superb third place. And, well, the Ferraris didn't get away on the inside on the dirty line of the racetrack at all, well, did they?
Terrible start for Ferrari, and meantime, Mika Häkkinen is making the most of his advantage, and so is David Coulthard as they accelerate away. Mika Häkkinen leads at the end of lap 1. David Coulthard in second position. Villeneuve is third, and holding up the 2 Ferraris. It's an incredible performance by Jacques Villeneuve, especially as he had problems in the warm-up and had to go out in the spare car. And he was quickest, about 7th fastest in the warm-up, but this is a superb performance. Mika Häkkinen, look at him, this is a golden opportunity for the Finn, and my goodness, he's exploiting it superbly.
Getting a bit out of shape there in turn 4, so Häkkinen pushing to try to get an early advantage. Fastest man on this lap so far, David Coulthard, but not a lot between the 2 McLaren runners, and they're significantly faster than Villeneuve and the 2 Ferraris behind them.
Well, I know that Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, was very unhappy with the McLaren performance in qualifying, notwithstanding the fact that they were starting first and third. These cars are definitely more slippery. Look at the lead they've got at the end of this, the second lap. And look at the way that Jacques Villeneuve is still staying ahead of Michael Schumacher. There is the BAR, there is the Ferrari. Eddie Irvine still in 5th position. Jack Trulli is 6th in the Prost ahead of Jean Alesi, who's down from 5th position. Jarno Trulli is chasing Jacques Villeneuve, chasing Michael Schumacher, chasing Eddie Irvine. He's 4.3 seconds behind the race leader. And now David Coulthard is starting to close the gap. But Mika Häkkinen is very, very much the fastest man on the track so far. Obviously, in the lead by 1.5 seconds.
That's blue smoke coming out of the back of that BAR under braking into turn 1. But it's so difficult to follow another car around here as Michael Schumacher's finding out because the dirty air coming off the back, but it's more relevant here because of those long, long fast corners such as turn 3 they've just been through. Schumacher clearly has the faster car there, but he's not going to shake Villeneuve off the track too quickly. It just wrecks your front tyres. You've got less front grip, you're sliding around more. Worst case scenario here for Michael Schumacher. He needs to pass Villeneuve early.
2 previous winners, because Jacques Villeneuve won here in 1997. Jacques Villeneuve won here the 2 previous years, one of them for Ferrari, one of them for Benetton. But all the time you can see those McLarens. Now Schumacher is over 4.5 seconds behind Häkkinen, who's taking advantage of the clear track ahead of him. He's made the fastest lap in the race, and that is a time of 1 minute 25.8 compared with last year's fastest lap, 1:24.2.
Well, remember the World Championship finale in '97, Murray in Jerez, when Villeneuve made that bold move on Michael Schumacher to pass him. Schumacher ending up in the gravel trap and losing the championship. Villeneuve taking it. Plenty of needle in the past between these 2.
Yeah, and the gap has increased between Schumacher and Häkkinen as we watch a restart. Watch the replay now.
Yes, well, Schumacher's problem was Irvine had a bad start. Schumacher had a very good start, but got bottled up behind Eddie Irvine, and Coulthard moving to close the line early. And that meant Schumacher backing out of it and gave Villeneuve a clear run down his left-hand side of the track into that clear 3rd place.
And you saw the way that Jarno Trulli came up in the process there from 9th on the grid, and he's 6th in the race now. The young Italian who's very much showing the way to his more experienced French partner, Olivier Panis, in the Prost team. Here's the battle for third, and the gap between Schumacher and Häkkinen has gone up from over 4 seconds to over 6 seconds. So Villeneuve is definitely holding up the Ferraris.
Another good starter was Johnny Herbert, moving from 14th up into 11th place, just 0.6 of a second behind Rubens Barrichello, his teammate.
Lap 4 out of 65, and it's Häkkinen, Coulthard, Villeneuve. Schumacher, Eddie Irvine in 5th position, Jarno Trulli 6th, Jean Alesi down to 7th from 5th on the grid. Ralf Schumacher is 8th in the Williams, ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Rubens Barrichello. Damon Hill in 13th position. He's lost 2 places already compared with his 11th place on the grid.
Yes, Mika Häkkinen there, Murray, 1.4 seconds faster than Villeneuve and Schumacher in 3rd and 4th places. That's a country mile in Formula One, and 4/10 faster than David Coulthard in 2nd place too, so Häkkinen really getting on with it.
Yeah, now, a lot of people will now start to wonder about reliability for the McLarens. They've only had 3 finishes, 2 for Mika Häkkinen, 1 for David Coulthard in 8 starts so far this year. No one is denying the fact that it's the fastest car in Formula One in 1999, but it is a long way from being the most reliable of the top cars. That's Ferrari.
Well, we haven't seen it on a breakdown truck or a tow rope at any time this weekend. Coulthard having a suspension failure, of course, which they believe they've identified and fixed with no problems at all. So they're not expecting any further problems on that, but they didn't have a great test last week, and there are still some concerns as we see that must be Wirtz going extremely wide in Kampser corner, and oh dear, that'll make a mess of the underneath. Look at that.
Yeah, the Benettons have been performing very badly by their high standards here. Both drivers have been complaining about the fact that they can't get any grip out of their cars. So there is Häkkinen, a gap of 3 seconds to David Coulthard, who is at least 4 seconds ahead of the battle for third. Here it is, Villeneuve, Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, Jarno Trulli is still in that 6th place, and the man of the race so far for me is Jacques Villeneuve. He decided to leave the Williams team after those seasons he spent with them, during which he became world champion, in order to join the new BAR team and make an investment in his future, financially and from a driving point of view. It is now starting to pay off.
Yes, well, the cream always comes to the top, as they say, and it really hasn't taken Villeneuve long to get up the sharp end at all.
No, this is the man, I say, who won here in 1997. Tremendously determined, gigantically talented. And Malcolm Oastler, the man who designed that BAR car, and Craig Pollock, the man who's put the whole team together with enormous backing, will be feeling very happy at the moment. Off goes a tear-off from Jacques Villeneuve's visor, and Michael Schumacher continuing frustratedly to press. There is no doubt in my mind that if he could only get past the BAR, he could pull away from it, but that he cannot do.
No, I tend to think you're right, Murray, but one thing that's surprising me is that if he's slowing Schumacher up that much, why isn't Villeneuve all over the back of Schumacher? I'm not sure the Ferrari's working that well at this stage of the race.
Over the line they go, and Schumacher now on lap 7 out of 65 is a massive 11 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. Now, strategy will come into play in this race, no doubt. It's my guess, and it's no more than a guess, that McLaren may be on a 1-stop strategy, probably 2. Ferrari could be on a 3-stop strategy, possibly 2 as well. If it's a 2-stop strategy, it's bad news for Michael Schumacher. Either way, it's bad news, because he needed on a 3-stop strategy, which theoretically is fastest of all, provided everything goes well, to have made a good start. He hasn't done so. He's still in 4th position. And Jacques Villeneuve continues to hold that 3rd position in the Mecachrome-powered BAR. Now, Mecachrome is the French company that's running the Renault-designed and built engines from Formula One. It's getting a bit long in the tooth. Patrick Head, who uses them in the Williams team, says it's some way from being the most powerful and the best engine in Formula One, although it's very well engineered. And that means that even more so that Jacques Villeneuve is driving a superb race. He's definitely got a lot less power than the Ferrari behind him.
Yes, it's called a Supertech these days, that engine, but there is a chance that Villeneuve, of course, could be running a little bit lighter. Every 10 kilos of fuel less they have around here is 0.35 of a second, 10 kilos being 13.5 litres. You can work that out into gallons if you want. But so therefore, it's quite a big fuel advantage here if you run your car a little bit lighter. We'll have to wait and see. I think Villeneuve's pace is questionable whether it's 2 or 3 stop, but nonetheless, it's certainly matching the Ferraris for now.
1:25.2 is the fastest lap we've had so far from Mika Häkkinen, who put up the fastest lap last year. Exactly 1 second slower than last year, and that is a terrific achievement on the 4-groove front tyres in comparison with the 3-groove front tyres last year. Less grip this year. The car, nevertheless, itself... Oh! Bit of a shaking of the head there from Mika Häkkinen's McLaren as he takes the left-hander. He's on his 8th lap out of 65. He's 3.5 seconds ahead of Coulthard. He's 12 seconds ahead of Villeneuve. He's 12.5 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. Eddie Irvine is still 5th ahead of Jarno Trulli and Jean Alesi. And completing the top 10, Ralf Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the top Jordan driver, Rubens Barrichello, the top Stewart driver, completes the top 10. And Barrichello is followed by his teammate Johnny Herbert. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Johnny is going to finish this race and that he won't be talking, which he's inevitably been doing time after time this season, to Louise Goodman as a retiree later on. Pedro Diniz is 12th in his car, and in 13th position, Damon Hill in the second, Jordan. There's the hero of Spain, Pedro de la Rosa. You saw him on the introduction to our programme, talking us round Barcelona. Well, he's driving himself round the Catalunya circuit now. 14th position, only 1 retirement so far. Sadly, it's Spain's Marc Genet, who failed even to take the start. 21 running, Olivier Panis is last in the frost. He is already a full lap behind everybody else.
Well, if anything, look at Michael Schumacher drifting the back end of the car through there. It's not what he wants to do. He's not intending or trying to slide the car around. It's just the way the car's handling. It's not working well at all. And if anything, Villeneuve's pulling away slightly and looking like he's got a slightly better balanced package.
I didn't see in the Sturm and Drang, Martin, where Michael Schumacher got past Eddie Irvine, who started ahead of him.
Well, I think because Irvine had that poor start, even then Schumacher had a better run, finally, down into turn 1. So I think it was all over by the first corner. But of course Villeneuve had the pair of them, and there'd be a big smile on his face on that one, I would imagine. And the man, if he didn't have a crash helmet on, who'd be scratching his head, is Eddie Irvine. He's now 16 seconds off the lead and 1.1 seconds off the leader's pace.
Well, McLaren have done something overnight, because there is so much more performance in the car in comparison with the third runner, never mind the 2 Ferraris, than there was yesterday. Any views?
I think the McLaren generally does. I mean, Ferrari saying this is their worst track. I think what they really mean is this is acknowledged as being McLaren's best track. For whatever reason, their philosophy of their car suits this circuit very well, and it is a particular type of circuit. Ferrari have tended to struggle here a little bit, except for, I mean, Schumacher was stunning in the rain here and just made everybody look silly. And I think with that balance around here, you can't manhandle a car. If the car's just not working, those long, fast corners, all you can do is drive them. You really can't drive around too many problems. And it seems that the McLaren boys have got less problems than the Ferrari guys. And they've got an added problem now of this man, Jacques Villeneuve, in front of them.
Lap 10. Now let's turn our mind to when they might be stopping. If, and I'm sure some of them will be, there are going to be 3 stop strategies. I think the earliest we can start expecting them is round about lap 16. That's in 6 laps' time, including the one that they're on now.
Well, up at the front, we've got a fairly typical situation happening here. Coulthard is now stabilised on Häkkinen's speed and now starts edging back towards him, and we've seen that in a lot of races. No doubt about it. Häkkinen has got the gift that Ayrton Senna used to have of getting away at the beginning of the race, having the confidence to push the car to the limit straight away and get an advantage. And Coulthard's got to find out how to do that better, because Häkkinen really is building himself a cushion very quickly.
Martin, this has happened time and time again, that Mika Häkkinen has got the drop on David in both qualifying and subsequently the race. I know you're very close to David, but I equally know that you'll be totally objective. Are they still in the same bracket?
Well, Coulthard's got to find something extra and make the difference up. Häkkinen is finding it. David is not finding it at the moment. He's close, but not close enough. And there's a little something extra in there he's got to pull out, and only he knows where it is. But, you know, Häkkinen is not an easy man. He was my teammate back in '94 at McLaren. I know very, very well how good Mika Häkkinen is. And he's not going to be an easy man to beat in this form especially.
Lap 13 out of 65. Michael Schumacher still all over the gearbox of Jacques Villeneuve's BAR, but it's the old "they shall not pass" from Jacques Villeneuve. He's keeping the Ferrari behind him, and now Schumacher is over 18 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen, the race leader.
Yes, there's nothing dramatic happened in this intense battle while you're away. Irvine making a very small mistake in the Caxa hairpin, losing a bit of ground now, 1.7 seconds behind this scrap over third place. And Villeneuve has locked his inside front wheel 4 or 5 times just to demonstrate how deep he's going into the braking areas. As the outside tyre loads up, you turn in and the weight transfers to the outside tyre through the anti-roll bar system, general suspension system. It unloads the inside tyre and makes it lock up even easier. So that's what happens when they go into the slower corners as soon as the driver turns the wheel and the weight transfers, and we've seen that happen several times for Villeneuve. And there it is again, just slightly, and that's unusual into turn 4. Normally you don't have to brake that hard. I think that demonstrates there's not an awful lot of grip out there, and they're running something like 3.4 seconds off the lap record at the moment, which I think confirms that.
Well, the world champion of 1997 here, Jacques Villeneuve, leads the world champion of 1995 and 1994, but it's the world champion of 1998, Mika Häkkinen, who is leading the race on the 14th lap, and there's news from James Allen in the Ferrari area.
Well, for part of the news, of course, is that Schumacher is bearing down now on Villeneuve, but I was just going to observe, it's worth remembering this was one of the very rare occasions when Michael Schumacher followed Eddie Irvine's tyre choice, and he had to go for the setup to go with it as well. Irvine came here convinced the soft tyres were the way to go because he won the race in Australia on them. He's had it in his head that that was the way to go, and Michael went with him at about 5-1 yesterday afternoon, and you could argue he's paying the price. The problem at the moment, I can't work out how much fuel Michael's got on board because he's stuck behind Villeneuve. But one other observation for you guys, Mika Häkkinen, the last 10 laps have been consistently in the middle 1 minute 25 second bracket. That's Senna-like rhythm, unbelievable.
I think we can now see also, James, why they were changing the Ferraris before they parked them on the line for the start of this race. They clearly weren't happy with the handling, and I think, as I said before, it's desperate measures when you change anything between the warm-up and the race, and we're seeing now the result of that.
2 seconds covers the third, fourth and fifth, and here they are, Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine behind him, but they are 21 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen, who leads David Coulthard by 4.5 seconds.
Yes, I think if Villeneuve is going to 3-stop, he'll be coming in the next 2 or 3 laps would make sense. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I've got a feeling these Ferrari drivers will be pleased to get rid of these sets of tyres.
1.5 seconds. Mika Häkkinen is lapping faster than the Villeneuve-Schumacher-Irvine trio that you see, almost all 3 of them in shot. Well, there they are, all 3 in shot. And incidentally, in the background, you can see the biggest crowd that I've ever seen at a Spanish Grand Prix for cars. That's probably because of De La Rosa and Genet, but also because of the way that the Ferraris have been going in comparison with the McLaren so far this season. There is a tremendous Ferrari following here in Spain, as there is in most countries, but McLaren are showing them the way. They are first and second at the present moment, and between Eddie Irvine and Jarno Trulli, who we have seen very little of, but who is driving an absolutely superb race in 6th position, there is 7 seconds. Just 1 second between Trulli and Alesi, who is in 7th position.
Well, Michael Schumacher using a piece of track in turn 3 there, I don't think I've ever been on. Absolutely amazing. So far wide and so early in the corner. Schumacher clearly having a job to keep the front end of the car where he needs it. As Villeneuve carries on, locking up brakes, that just tends to make your front tyres a bit scruffy, and you start having a problem. If you lock them too hard, they vibrate very badly. You can barely see where you're going down the straight because you've got a bit missing, and they're massively out of balance also for good measure. But also you start to pick up understeer. You've got less tyre generally on the road if you start flat spotting them. So Villeneuve making his front tyres a bit untidy, but nonetheless matching the pace of the Ferraris.
A very uneventful race in terms of place changes so far, and I'm happy to say in terms of retirements, because we still just have the one retirement, although it was really a non-starter, Marc Genet, who didn't get away at the start. Everybody else is still running. Olivier Panis has been lapped in 21st position. Luca Badoer is the last man still to be going in the Minardi, 20th position. And he is already 77 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. Luca Badoer, incidentally, still driving with a bandaged hand, wrist and arm after quite badly hurting his wrist earlier on in the season in a testing accident.
Well, to put it in perspective, Murray, Mika Häkkinen is already just about a pit ahead of this scrap for third place, so he's got a pit stop in his pocket anyway, but we know he's on the harder tyres, and almost certainly I would imagine the McLarens are two-stopping, so Häkkinen looking in very good shape in terms of pace, but will it go to the end?
Indeed, yeah, at the present moment it's looking as though the best that Michael Schumacher can hope for, the very best that he can hope for, is third position, which would give him 4 World Championship points, put him on 30 points in comparison with Mika Häkkinen's 24, assuming that happened. But as I've said many times before, there's a long way to go. This is lap 18, it's a 65-lap race. We've seen some pretty dramatic things happening in Formula One this season already. They could just as easily happen here at the Catalunya circuit in Barcelona as Villeneuve and Schumacher go over the line again. And Michael Schumacher now 24.5 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen, who's got a very handy cushion ahead of David Coulthard of 5 seconds. And I'm pretty sure that the two McLarens will be on the same strategy. It's beginning to look again like 10 points for Mika Häkkinen, 6 points for David Coulthard. We have yet to have a McLaren 1-2 in 1999. Indeed, we have yet to have both McLarens finishing in the same race in 1999. As Villeneuve leads Schumacher, and into the pits for the first stop now. This is Pedro de la Rosa. Is this a routine stop or not? Yes, it obviously is. Well,
three-stop time, isn't it?
He's obviously on a three-stopper because that is lap 18. And it's just 2 laps into the earliest stop. I would have expected the earliest stop to be lap 16. He's come in on lap 18. So there's definitely going to be 3 stoppers as Mika Häkkinen laps Luca Badoer. He's now lapped Panis, he's now lapped Luca Badoer, he's lapped everybody up to 19th place.
Ferrari mechanics out in the pit lane, so maybe they're going to put Schumacher onto a 3-stopper, try and get him some clear air to we think it, actually the information I can see the mechanics there, but the information we're now getting is that it's for Eddie Irvine. Still a bit of smoke coming out of the back of Villeneuve's car when he breaks down there into turn 1. Normally if you get a lot of black dust coming out from the carbon brakes, but I thought they looked a bit blue coming out of Villeneuve's car there. Villeneuve, I'm led to believe, has got his new friend Danny Minogue this weekend and seems a very happy chap, if
Martin,
I'm right.
if they are bringing Irvine in, I don't understand it. It's quite clear that Michael Schumacher cannot get past Jacques Villeneuve. I would have thought, as an amateur strategist, that it would be better to bring Schumacher in and hope that he can make a quicker pit stop than Villeneuve when he eventually comes in.
Yeah, sorry, Murray, I wasn't really listening to you there. I was looking out the window because they've just pulled all the tyres back in again on the Ferrari.
Oh, well,
maybe what did you say, sorry?
Maybe that explains my theory, or supports it. I was going to say, if they are bringing Irvine in, I can't understand it. But James has got some information for us.
Yeah, it looked like a very hasty decision to bring him in. It was as if Irvine had radioed in to say he wasn't happy with the balance of the tyres. I know that a lot of teams have been complaining that the rear tyres, the soft rear tyres, been going off after about 12 or 15 laps. Maybe he was beginning to feel that was happening for him, but they came out, and pretty much as quick as they came out, they went back in again. So whatever the problem was, it's gone away again.
Well, you've just seen the McLaren go past. It's David Coulthard in second position, lapping Badoer and Takagi, who are battling for 18th position. Takagi in the black and orange arrows, and Luca Badoer in the silver Minardi. And obviously, Takagi was hoping to take advantage of that to improve his position. He failed to do so. David Coulthard now has lapped everybody up to Alexander Wurz, who's in 17th position. It's a rotten race for Benetton. Fisichella is 14th, Wurz is in 17th position, and in the pits, Wurz is in the pits in the Benetton. And here's the battle between Villeneuve, third on lap 20, Schumacher in 4th position, Eddie Irvine in 5th place. There's the confirmation of the fact that Alexander Wurz is in the pits. 11.5 seconds, and that was lap 20 out of 65. Could be either a two-stop or a three-stop strategy.
Yes, two-stopper would be, as you say, a 22 lap, and lap 22 normally, but a couple of 2 or 3 seconds longer than it should have been, that stop for Wurz. So they looked like they were poking around with something on the left-hand side, the bodywork of the car. So because that shouldn't have been as long, as it should have been near as 7 or 8 seconds. And this is the Minardi of Badoer, running currently down in 20th place. The only man behind him is Panis, who just didn't get off of the start line at the beginning of the race, and had to be re-fired up in the pits and rejoined the race a lap late. So Badoer way down, Villeneuve still clinging on to the white line into 3 and clinging on to 3rd place, and he's just pulled a little bit more of a gap now back to Michael Schumacher.
Top 10, lap 21, Hakkinen leads Coulthard. You're looking at the battle between Villeneuve, Schumacher and Irvine for 3rd, 4th, 5th places. Jarno Trulli is still 6th ahead of Jean Alesi Sauber. Ralf Schumacher is 8th in the Williams. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, disappointingly for Jordan, 9th. And in 10th position, Rubens Barrichello in the Stewart.
Well, it's already been a spectacular week for BAR. It's a major coup for them to pick up that Honda engine deal. And here they are now up in 3rd place. And really, it's a very, very bright week for them. They haven't had a tremendous start, losing Zonta so early on when he damaged his foot into the barrier in Brazil. And Salo, the teammate of Villeneuve, is currently back down in 15th place. So probably they'll be looking for Zonta to come back soon.
I was talking to Zonta this morning, incidentally, and I said to him, there's been conjecture that you're not going to be driving in Canada because your foot won't be able to take the braking stresses at that circuit, where a lot of braking is called for. He strongly denied it and said that he would be taking the place back again from Salo in the BAR. Oh, and a big puff of smoke from, I didn't see whether, yes, it must have been from the tyres of Jacques Villeneuve's BAR, as he continues brilliantly to resist the double world champion, Michael Schumacher, and Eddie Irvine, who've driven so well and won races, both of them this year.
Now I think the BAR is holding up the Ferrari. I think he's struggling to slow the car down. Clearly can't get enough rear brake balance. I believe that they overheated their rear brakes in Monaco, although it's a completely different track. I'm sure I saw some smoke and that coming out of the rear of Salo's car when he crashed, and I don't know how their cooling is on that BAR, but for whatever reason, Villeneuve can't crank enough rear brake balance on the car to stop those fronts from locking up. Ferrari boys out in the pit lane again, taking the covers off the tyres this time. The F1 ITV pit crew say it's for Irvine.
Directly opposite us, I can see the mechanic standing there with the tyres and wheels all ready to put onto whichever Ferrari comes in. I must say I'm a bit baffled by one of them hasn't come in earlier in order to try and get past and it's Eddie Irvine in. You just saw him peel off there. He's stopping opposite me. There he is. Eddie Irvine stops on lap 23. James.
Yeah, I can tell you what the problem Ferrari have today is they've just adjusted the spare front nose cone for Schumacher's car. They put a few turns of wing in, so if he has some sort of incident, that'll go on, and that means that they've got a serious understeer problem on the front of Schumacher's car. Not a bad stop there from the Ferrari mechanics, a conditional with a 3-stop timescale, I would say.
Well, Eddie Irvine, obviously, of course, has lost about 22 seconds it takes for a typical pit stop here. That's coming in, stopping, changing tyres and wheels, getting back to racing speed out of the pit lane afterwards. And so Jacques Villeneuve has just got one Ferrari behind him now, which means to say that Jarno Trulli comes up into 5th place, Jorna Lacey comes up potentially into the point-scoring 6th position.
McLaren crew now also in the pit lane. I think if you saw the amount of traffic that was in front of Häkkinen's in the pits. Here's Häkkinen now, picking him up. 6.8, a great stop and cleanly away for Mika Häkkinen, up to 120 kilometres per hour. About 75 miles an hour coming out of the pit lane. But I think the reason they haven't brought Michael in earlier, Murray, is looking at the traffic that came out in front. Look, Häkkinen back on the racetrack, and third and fourth man still just coming over the start-finish line. So that pit stop he had in his pocket has kept him in the lead, despite having already had his first stop.
Now here is David Coulthard, of course, who is now in the lead. David Coulthard leading in the McLaren. And you saw that as Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard has got... There he is in the McLaren, the man who's yet to win a race in 1999. And there is Mika Salo in the BAR, the Finnish driver. He's in 16th position. And David Coulthard now looking for a win in 1999 is certainly in the lead at the present moment as the two arrows go past together, Takagi and De La Rosa, and we look down at turn 13, that tremendously demanding corner with Villeneuve and Jacques and Michael Schumacher right behind him. Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, Schumacher in the Ferrari, and Mika Häkkinen, of course. There he is.
I think Schumacher may well pit this lap. I was trying to say that I think they didn't bring him in earlier because looking at the traffic that was in front of Irvine when he rejoined, they didn't want to put Michael Schumacher back into that. They couldn't take the advantage. Does Michael Schumacher pit this time round? Yes, Villeneuve's in and Schumacher.
Both in. Coulthard leads, Häkkinen second, 12 seconds behind Coulthard, who has yet to stop, and Mika Häkkinen has, of course, stopped. Here is Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, came in right behind now. How's he going to go with him and Jacques Villeneuve? Let's have a look. Schumacher's got away first,
yes,
and Jacques Villeneuve's got a long stop. So Michael Schumacher does what he set out to do, and there he is rejoining in front of Eddie Irvine.
Yes, and Irvine, of course, ahead of Villeneuve too. There's the traffic I was telling you about. It's not working well for Ferrari today, but Villeneuve now behind both Ferraris. He obviously had some kind of pit stop problem or just a slow one. Ralf Schumacher, I see, just coming in for his pit stop too. And in fact, no, sorry, that's Zanardi. I can see in the distance there in the pits. He's not on your TV screen. You're watching the two Ferraris now effectively in third and fourth place.
Yeah, bottled up behind one of the Jordans. I think it's Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who is in 7th position. Damon Hill is in 11th place. There is Ralf Zanardi. I'm sorry, Zanardi in the Williams. Oh, and it's all gone wrong again for Alex Zanardi, whose return to Formula One has not been at all what he hoped it would be. No drive at all from the Williams there. Is that a retirement for Zanardi? If so, it'll be running true to form for his 1999 Formula One season. Now, there's a bit of a gap here. While you watch the Jordan and the two Ferraris, let me tell you the order on lap 26. David Coulthard not stopped. He's about 12 seconds ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who has. Up into second place has come a Lacey, who has not stopped. Ralf Schumacher is in 4th position. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 5th. Michael Schumacher, who has stopped, is 6th. Eddie Irvine, who has stopped, is in 7th position, and Jacques Villeneuve down to 8th.
Now watch this. Look how the Ferraris have been behind that Jordan for over a lap now. I assume it's Damon Hill. I haven't had a close-up of that. We've only had an aerial shot. And in fact, no, I think it's Frentzen. Yeah. Frentzen hasn't yet stopped, so he's up in 5th place. So, in fact, yes, he's right. He doesn't have to pull over. He is in a genuine 5th place. He's not about to be lapped. And again, that is holding the Ferraris back. Just not working out at all today. Coulthard, the leader, takes to the pit lane.
Yeah, David Coulthard from the lead. He's going to lose it now to Mika Häkkinen, who will regain the lead position. And the question is Jean Alesi going to go through into 2nd position?
Schumacher just completely overshot his pit. Look, completely overshot his pit. And the mechanics all had to move. That did not at all right there. And Coulthard costing himself 6 seconds over teammate Mika Häkkinen, just came in way too fast.
So, I suppose easily done. We all expect them to drive like robots and automatons. They're human beings. Everybody makes a mistake. David Coulthard in the McLaren made one there, and it certainly cost him time. But he was in a pretty strong position in comparison with Jean Alesi. And here come the Ferraris over the line. Michael Schumacher in 5th position, Eddie Irvine in 6th. Ahead of them, Ralf Schumacher is 4th, Alesi is 3rd, and then the 2 McLarens.
Sorry if I said Schumacher overshot his pit. It was Coulthard, of course. I happened to be watching out the window. It looked like he was coming in way too fast, and all his mechanics having to scatter. He's rejoined the track in 2nd place, but he's going to be a long, long way behind Mika Häkkinen now.
Tora Takagi being lapped by Michael Schumacher, being lapped by Eddie Irvine. We're on lap 27 out of 65. That's the first lot of pit stops out of the way, except for Ralf Schumacher, who is in 4th position, which he's not going to retain for very long. He'll come in, although he may well be on a long strategy. He might only be stopping, he will be stopping twice, and then his brother will go past him, if not before, because now there is Michael Schumacher, there is Eddie Irvine. They're closing on Ralf Schumacher in the Williams, who is in 4th position. And so, lap 28, Mika Häkkinen leads David Coulthard, Jean Alesi is 3rd, Ralf Schumacher is 4th, and here is Mika Häkkinen going through. He's regained the lead, of course. He's ahead of David Coulthard in 2nd position. And here is Jean Alesi, who qualified a superb 5th in the Sauber. Sadly going out of the race. He dropped to 9th position after a pit stop. He really, really did not deserve that. But now Michael Schumacher here is in 3rd position. It's McLaren, Ferrari.
And Michael Schumacher just setting a new fastest lap of the race on an absolute charge. Now he's got some clear air and a new set of tyres. Michael Schumacher 1:24.982, and that is 1.1 seconds faster than the 2 leaders, and he is 15 seconds behind David Coulthard and a full 28 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. So a lot of work to do, but Michael now setting about one of his charges. We're not even halfway through this race yet. Plenty of time, but I don't know if the tyres will stand this kind of treatment.
Nevertheless, it's great to see Schumacher on one of his typical charges. He's got, as you rightly say, a gigantic amount to do, because 28 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. But if anybody can do it, Michael can, and if anybody can resist him, Mika Häkkinen can. So it's going to be fascinating. Lap 30, coming up towards half distance.
Just if you're wondering if why they're running the soft tyres, and if it is a mistake, why didn't they put hard tyres on at the pit stop? Just to remind you, they have to commit after the Saturday morning practice before qualifying which type of tyre they're going to use for the rest of the weekend. So if you go on the soft ones, you're stuck with it, come what may.
Well, Michael Schumacher's last lap was 1.5 seconds faster than David Coulthard's. And Mika Häkkinen now is still leading by 28 seconds. And James Allen has got news about Coulthard's pit stop.
Well, it was absolutely unbelievable, Murray. When he came in, I heard this incredible cracking sound. As you say, he overshot the pit. And I've just been looking, and they've broken the front jack. Now, these cars come in about 70, 80 miles an hour. There's a guy standing in front of it waiting to pull him up. Just imagine what he must have felt like when he was hit by that force to break the front jack. Just to tidy up something I said earlier, Häkkinen's stop was very fast indeed at 6.8 seconds for a 2-stopper, but I do think he is on 2. I said 3, but I've changed my mind now. I think it's 2.
Well, Michael Schumacher just 0.6 of a second on the previous lap faster than Mika Häkkinen. He's catching David Coulthard, though. He was 1.2 seconds faster than David Coulthard. He's cut the gap between himself and the second place McLaren to 14 seconds on lap 31 out of 65. This is a classic Michael Schumacher charge. This is his 122nd Grand Prix. Jean Lacey is the man who's got the most Grand Prix experience of all of current Grand Prix drivers. He's out of this Spanish Grand Prix, of course. We've just seen the Sauber come to a standstill. And there are 18 competitors left. Lacey is out. Zanardi, his terrible Formula One season continues, is out of the race. Olivier Panis in the Prost has retired. Marc Genet has retired. Luca Badoer is the last runner. He has been lapped. Everybody up to 13th has been lapped by Mika Häkkinen, and the 13th place is Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton. His teammate Alex Mertz in the second Benetton has been lapped. He's 15th. Bad race for Benetton.
Well, as you've seen for yourself, this is more a game of chess than a stock car race. But Michael Schumacher is about to try to make a decisive move. He's now brought the gap down to 13 seconds to David Coulthard and lapping about a second a lap faster than both the McLarens ahead of him.
Yes, I know it's an incredible drive already, but Mika Häkkinen will know exactly what the situation is. He will be in touch with his pits through the radio. Ron Dennis will be talking to him and telling him exactly what the score is. Mika Häkkinen, enormously experienced driver. This is his 117th Grand Prix, the reigning world champion with 10 victories behind him already since that memorable one the year before last when he won in Jerez.
Yes, I just saw Coulthard. As Coulthard came into view, something was disappearing down the pit lane. I wonder what it was, but it's De La Rosa and the Arrows, I think. So nobody that's running up at the front. Coulthard now second place, 14 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. There's the De La Rosa car in for what will be the I don't know what kind of stop that'll be, what kind of strategy actually. It's second to 3, but that's even earlier than the first one they used. So,
well, Michael Schumacher has just gone round in 1 minute 25 seconds, and that's only 0.8 of a second slower than last year's fastest lap on 3 groove tyres. Michael has really got the bit between his teeth, sector by sector. He's going fastest of all. He's just done it in this first sector of this lap of some 2.9 miles. And Michael Schumacher has got the gap between himself and David Coulthard from 14 seconds down to just over 11 seconds. Terrific bit of driving, but he's still 26 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. But we have yet to reach the half. Well, we're just on the half-distance lap now. Lap 33 out of 65, and Michael Schumacher is creating an absolutely searing pace in the McLaren. He's got a clear track in front of him. Eddie Irvine in the second McLaren in 4th place is now 5 seconds behind his team leader, the man you're looking at, Michael Schumacher. Look at those comparisons.
Well, that's Coulthard coming up to lap that race between Salo and Mertz. So Salo just in front of Mertz. So Coulthard not having a good run through the traffic. Michael Schumacher's got the gap down to 9.6 seconds.
No doubt about it. David Coulthard is being held up by Salo, who's resisting Wurz, but Salo in the second VAR, his teammate Jacques Villeneuve is still running in 5th position, and they're occupied with each other's battle. Salo is trying to prevent Wurz getting past him. Wurz is trying to get past, and David Coulthard goes inside the Benetton. That's one of them that he's got rid of, but this is helping Michael Schumacher, and I think that Schumacher will find it easier to get past Wurz and Salo than David Coulthard did. It's going to be the old story of the drivers seeing that scarlet Ferrari in their mirrors and moving over, or is it?
I'm not too convinced about that story. It's really a question of them seeing the blue flags, but Coulthard's got to dive up the inside and make it count early, because for sure, there you go, that's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to be firm with the back markers, because that's exactly what Michael Schumacher's going to do when he arrives on the scene.
And it won't be so long now. 9.6 seconds was the gap between David Coulthard and Schumacher, and Louise has got news.
Yes, I'm standing here with Alex Rinaldi. Alex, you made it into the pits. Why didn't you make it out again?
Well, recently you never come and see me because I'm too slow, so I decided to stop and see if you would come and interview me. No, besides joking, I was told to select the gear, as I did. I heard a strange noise, and when I released the clutch, I had no drive, nothing happened, so that was it.
Problems always seem to come your way. How much more bad luck do you think you can take?
I can take as much bad luck as he wants to come, as long as it comes when the car is not super competitive. I am sure it's just a question of time. The Winfield Williams team will give me a competitive car, and I hope then I'll run out of bad luck and I'll be able to enjoy some success.
Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome.
Well, Alex there not having a good run in Formula 1. I think that's the wrong time to make a joke. He's got to be demonstrating he's taking more pain than that. I'm sorry, it's not the right attitude, and it's not going at all well from him, and I know his bosses will not appreciate a jokey situation like that, because it's desperate days at the moment.
Well, I can tell you that Johnny Herbert, who is in 12th position, has just been given the blue flag because Fisichella is trying to get past him. And if Johnny sees two more of those and doesn't move over, he's going to be in major trouble. Meantime, Mika Häkkinen, there he is, race leader, scything his way through the field in the McLaren. He's just got ahead of the Stewart there, and that is Michael Schumacher in second place. Now he's only 6.5 seconds behind David Coulthard, who was held up by that bit of traffic, which Michael Schumacher himself is going to come on shortly. And meantime, Mika Häkkinen's lead has been over Schumacher, has been reduced from some 28 seconds to 20, just over 20 seconds.
Sit back and enjoy this. You're seeing a classic drive there from Michael Schumacher. Stunning, absolutely showing why he's rated as the best man in the world, even though he didn't win the World Championship in either the last 2 years. This is a classic charge from a great racing driver. Sit back and enjoy it.
Yes, lap 36 out of 65. Häkkinen leads Coulthard by 14 seconds, leads Schumacher by under 21 seconds. Irvine is 27 seconds behind Häkkinen in 4th place. Jacques Villeneuve is still 5th. Jarno Trulli is still 6th. Ralf Schumacher is 7th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 8th. Barrichello 9th. Deniz 10th. Damon Hill 11th. And Herbert 12th.
Taking no prisoners, says Michael Schumacher, coming from a full 50-60 metres behind there and all over the grass. Total commitment from Michael. Look at that, there's no track left, and Michael Schumacher absolutely on it, and still the fastest man on the track, even with that traffic.
Yeah, and he still gained on David Coulthard in spite of that traffic, admittedly only by... But nevertheless, he has continued to gain, and David Coulthard is catching Häkkinen. Now, I don't know what's happening, but Mika Häkkinen is slowing down, no doubt about it. David Coulthard is now 13 seconds behind Häkkinen and only 6 seconds ahead of Schumacher.
Yeah, but we saw Häkkinen overtaking Johnny Herbert into turn 1, had to take the tighter line, remember. You always lose a little bit of time when you do that, but nevertheless, this is the man making the pace at the moment by some margin.
Now, the fastest lap we have had so far is that of Michael Schumacher, 1 minute 24.9, which is 0.7 of a second only slower than Mika Häkkinen's fastest lap in the McLaren last year when he was sweeping all before him. And of course, Mika Häkkinen won here last year.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen has dropped out of the race. You can see him there. We think it's a drive shaft broken from our information. And let's have a look. We're just pulling off to the side of the racetrack, look, so no particular drama, just lost drive in the car. Frentzen out of the race. That promotes Hill to the #1 Jordan driver in the race, and currently P10, Eddie Jordan there with a little shake of the head. That's the first bit of bad luck Frentzen's had really for a while, and bad news for him. But Michael Schumacher on his way, still taking 6, 9 tenths out of both the McLaren drivers. He's now got the lead under 20 seconds.
Damon Hill telling me earlier today, Martin, about Heinz-Harald Frentzen's quirky sense of humour. Heinz-Harald goes up to Trevor Foster, the Jordan managing director, and says, "I think you are an alien, show me your credentials. So, Michael Schumacher now, third position. He's on a faster lap yet again. Just on 6 seconds behind David Coulthard, who continues to edge up on Michael Schumacher. The gap between Häkkinen and Schumacher is 19 seconds. Lap 40, 25 to go. Michael Schumacher third, can see David Coulthard ahead of him now. Only 4 seconds ahead of him on the road. And Michael Schumacher is lapping 0.7 of a second faster. Superb.
Yes, what a magnificent wheelsmith this man is, and he really is on a charge. That change of tyres has just transformed this Ferrari. I guess he must have hurt them in the early laps, just following the BAR of Villeneuve. And now look, he can see the rear wing of Coulthard down the straight. Coulthard locking brakes, trying hard into Caxa hairpin. Michael Schumacher correcting the car. Watch his hand on the wheel. As you turn into some of these hairpins, your own hand obscures your vision. You're so tight in the car, and the steering wheel has to be so high to get your legs in. You obscure your own vision with your hands, but it's not a problem. You can look around them, and Michael Schumacher on yet another fast lap. He's going to have 4 or 5 tenths out of Coulthard again on this lap. It's going to down to 3 seconds. The lead is Coulthard 3 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. Oh, and Coulthard taking a brave lunge up the inside. Very, very necessary. Häkkinen now just 11.9 seconds in the lead of Michael Schumacher in third place.
It's getting absolutely terrific. David Coulthard races inside Johnny Herbert to lap the Stewart. Herbert is in 11th place. And while you're watching David Coulthard, I'll tell you about the rest. Häkkinen, and they're getting ready for Eddie Irvine in the pits. I can tell you that. Jacques Villeneuve is in the pits. The race order now. Lap 41, Häkkinen leads Coulthard by 12 seconds. He leads Schumacher by 15 seconds. Irvine is fourth, coming into the pits. Jacques Villeneuve fifth, coming into the pits. Jarno Trulli is in 6th position. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is in 7th place, and that is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR. 8th is Barrichello, 9th is Deniz, and 10th is Damon Hill.
Look, they're taking a rear wing element out of Villeneuve's. They're taking an element out to reduce the rear wing. I don't see the point in doing that in the middle of a race unless it was already loose on one side. Now, don't just try and break that off, please, because you could break the side fence. Off he goes. And they need to get. Oh, now he's stalled the engine.
Well, so, what a mess!
They're gonna push him forward. I don't think they'll push start because there's not enough hydraulics to pull the clutch. The hydraulic pressure fades away. Bring the starter out. He's getting out of the car, isn't he?
That's completely blown it for Jacques Villeneuve. I'm not going to condemn because I don't know what the real circumstances were, but it was certainly a botched effort getting that element off the wing. Then Jacques Villeneuve stalls.
Irvine in the pits, and while we were watching that little fiasco down at VAR, Michael Schumacher's close to within 2.4 seconds of second place man David Coulthard. Irvine's pit stop 8.4, not bad, but not as quick as they have been through this race. But Irvine in a clear and solid 4th place. He lost 14 seconds now to Schumacher with that magnificent charge of Michael's.
And the first of the leaders to stop a second time, and it's my guess that that's it for Eddie Irvine. He's on 2/3 of race distance now, but here's news from James Allen.
Very, very exciting down here, Murray. We're into the second pit stop window, as you just said. I've been studying Mika Häkkinen's lap times. The last few laps, they went out to the 1:27 range. Michael Schumacher was taking 2 seconds a lap out of him. There were some frantic words between Ron Dennis and Adrian Newey on the wall. No evidence anything wrong with the car. Suddenly, Häkkinen's waken up again. 125s again. Martin, what's going on?
Well, it's a 125.8 he's just done as we watch Jacques Villeneuve being wheeled back into the garage. That's his 5th retirement in 5 races, but that's by far his best Grand Prix since he... Oh, look at this! Here is Coulthard in 2nd position, and Michael Schumacher right behind him. 0.8 of a second. Never mind that, it's visual. It's visual. Häkkinen is leading by 13.7 seconds. Here is the battle for 2nd place, but David Coulthard will not be giving up easily.
Well, Schumacher's coming at him with such speed as we watch Johnny...
Herbert retiring. Johnny Herbert in the Stewart retiring from 13th. Well, I said there weren't many retirements. There are now. Villeneuve is out, Herbert is out, Frentzen Alesi, Zanardi, Panis and Jade.
Well, it sounds like he's just got tick over rev, so that could probably be a hydraulic problem, and emergency getting you home throttle there is